Time for a soccer down here 1v1. And my first question for Katie Smith is, where in the world are you right now?
Right now, I am sitting at my parents' farm in Whiteville, Tennessee. Not
So,
exciting at all.
well, okay. So then where's Whiteville? And see, and as someone who has spent time in Tennessee, Ville is actually pronounced VUL. And so I know all about Merville and Nashville and Knoxville and all of that. Where's Whiteville?
So Whiteville is outside of Memphis. It's about an hour away towards Nashville. So it's 2 hours from Nashville, an hour from Memphis. If you know where Jackson is, it's like 40 minutes from there. It's kind of off in the corner a little bit. But yeah, it's really in the middle of nothing. So
It's all good. We finally have you pinned down because we wanted to catch up with you because of the new line on the resume, and it is the fact that you are now involved in the Marshall Islands project on the women's side. When I say Marshall Islands head soccer coach Katie Smith, what comes to mind?
it's incredible, truly. I feel really blessed and lucky that at my age I've been given an opportunity like this. I knew that I wanted to get involved within the national team realm right when I started coaching, which was only a few years ago. And originally I thought it was going to be on the US side, and I've been working through the licensing pathway to hopefully get a spot in that realm. And when this door opened up before I've completed the licensing I would need for the United States, it really, I guess, opened my eyes for the first time that the US wasn't the only pathway. And so once I started researching it and looking into it and recognizing that, hey, I could actually get this experience a lot sooner than I thought, it was really exciting. And I feel really blessed that Lloyd and Matt have the confidence and faith in me to give me a role like this and let me get my feet wet. And I think it's a really cool project to be a part of. And I'm just really excited to see what leads from it and see what we can get rolling from here on out. So
How did this come about? I mean, the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation isn't, I mean, unless you're really a soccer nerd and you know what's going on about the last country to have a national program. How did this come to pass for you?
every single job that I've gotten for soccer has come through Twitter, which is really, really funny. And people make fun of me all the time, but it works. So I'm just going to keep rolling with it. But basically, Lloyd had sent me a message on Twitter, or I guess X, but he had sent me a message and just kind of said, hey, we're starting up this project. I'd love to connect with you and just talk to you about what it looks like, what it is, and see if you would want to help us out. And the exact role in which I would be helping was never really touched on. It was just kind of like, hey, do you want to talk about this? And I was like, sure, why not? And so we kind of started talking to each other that way. And he introduced what they were doing. And I loved all of the ideas behind creating soccer and getting that open in new spaces and giving opportunities to more people and children eventually, and obviously national team to play. And so I was really intrigued by it from the jump, and we just continued our communication. And then as time went on, he had kind of started opening that, well, would you want to be a coach? And I'm thinking maybe an assistant, maybe helping out here and there. And once again, I was super interested. I thought it would be a great experience. And so then flash forward to a few days before they announced I had the job. It was right before my birthday, and I was in New Orleans with my parents to celebrate. And all of a sudden I get a voice memo from Lloyd, and he's like, do you want to be the head coach? And I was very initially like, what the heck is going on? Like, I was not expecting this at all. And, it was like the best birthday present I could ever ask for. But right when he sent me that message, I immediately responded and was like, absolutely. And so from there, it was just getting more details on what that looks like and what those responsibilities are. And we've been able to sort through that over these past few months and really get some things on the calendar and get things rolling, which I'm sure we'll get into. And from there, it's pretty much just been, all right, what can I do to help us get where we want to be? And so we've been full force just trying to continue to get the ball rolling. And we've been able to have some pretty cool opportunities come up. And yeah, so that was kind of the journey. And that's how we got to where we are now.
The men's side right now, they're having their first ever futsal tournaments on the island, and we get to look at Lloyd and Matt and Justin and Twitter and sit there, the 280 character app or whatever you want to call it, and you get to see these first ever events that are going on with this team. When you've had conversations about how to grow your side and be, I guess, a participant as well and give feedback on the men's side, what are these conversations like about your stages and your steps and your timetables? What's going on with that?
Yeah, so I think it's really hard to compare the men's and women's sides just because culturally and then in every single nation, it seems that the men always have a jump start, right? And so for us, our biggest challenge is that on the women's side of things, we have a cultural limitation that we have to try and overcome. And then on top of that, it's just hard to find women that play soccer in general and then have the opportunities to leave the home and come and play and be a part of games and all of those things. And so for us, we want to mimic what the men are doing and we want to get to the same stage as the men are at. But we understand that on the women's side, that's going to take a little bit more time just because of the challenges that we face that maybe the men don't face as much. And so that being said, we actually have planned now our second fixture, or I guess I shouldn't use the word fixture, our second training camp. So we've got dates for that. That will be in October. We're hoping to get our first fixture by the end of the year and being able to play a game or a tournament like the men are right now. But that is something that's kind of in the works that we will see if we're able to get nailed down or not. But either way, we're excited for how things are going, and we're definitely looking forward to the future of the women's side and hoping to grow it just as we are on the men's. It's just taking a little bit more time.
What's it like to build something from scratch?
It's really special. So it's funny because as a player, I was on a junior college team that was a first year program. So I did it as a player. And then now my current role outside of the Marshall Islands is that I am coaching at Pittsburgh State in Pittsburgh, Kansas. And that is also a brand new program. So we will have our first team this coming fall. And so it was ironic when this opportunity was brought to me because I had said, well, I've done this twice now. I know exactly what it takes and what it looks like to build something from the ground up. And I know how special it is to be a part of that because I always look back and know I helped that begin, and it wouldn't be what it is now without me playing a part in it. And so it's super cool. And I think that doing it on a national stage is something that's totally different, and it's presented a lot new challenges that I haven't had in other realms, but I think it's going to also present a lot of cool things in the future. For example, when it does become a FIFA recognized nation and when it does become a part of being eligible for World Cups and things like that, which of course these things we're talking years and years in advance. But when it does, I think that you can always look and say, hey, like we started that, And so it's been a really cool thing. It's really special to start something new. And I'm really excited to continue to do that this fall at the college and then continue to do that through this national team system and just keep hopefully making an impact where I can.
When it comes to the build and your knowledge base, how much about the Marshall Islands itself, whether culturally, historically, within the United States footprint, how much of the Marshall Islands itself did you know about coming into this idea?
Yeah, so truthfully, when Lloyd sent me a message, I had never heard of this country in my life. And I knew from the very beginning when he reached out to me, I needed to start doing some research. And there were a lot of YouTube videos watched, and there were a lot of Google searches done, and there was a lot of context that I needed to get for myself. But the one thing when I took the job back in May, I had a conversation with Lloyd and Matt, and I said, listen, like, it's one thing to learn these things online and figure it out, but I need to meet the people, and I need to get a firsthand account of what these people are like and just their culture and all of those things. And that is when this talk of me going to Camp Yuckway, which just happened, came about. And so fortunately, I was able to, it lined up with my dates of being out of town and coming back to America perfectly. And so I was able to fly straight into Minneapolis, and I was able to be a part of that. And being a part of that, I was able to get a firsthand experience account for the Marshallese people. It was my first time ever meeting anyone Marshallese, and they were the most welcoming, kind group of people that I could have ever asked for. They told me that I was basically like their little cousin because they're all family, but I'm not Marshallese, but I can be their like cousin that comes to the family reunion, which I thought was really sweet of them to say. But they were very open, and they shared with me their culture and their thoughts and the context that I feel like I need to try and help lead them. And so that was a really, really massive experience for me, just in terms of gaining all of that knowledge that I need to be a successful leader. And I feel pretty good now about my knowledge in terms of the Marshall Islands, where if you would have asked me a few months ago, I probably would have said, yeah, like I'm in over my head. I have no idea. But I've done a lot of research and I've put in the time to talk to the people and really just get those firsthand accounts. So now I feel pretty good about it, and I feel like I've got good direction moving forward.
Well, and at the same time, I'm trying to remember my interstate system. So if you're going from basically like Jackson to Memphis, work your way through Arkansas as you're heading up toward Pittsburgh State, you can pass through the Four Corners, and you're kind of getting an idea through Northwest Arkansas and Oklahoma. You're right there when it comes to recruiting on a couple of different levels now.
Yeah, 100%. And that was also something that I did not know, which outside of the Marshall Islands, the second most popular place that people live that are Marshallese is Arkansas, which I'm sure you know. But I did not know that. So when I saw that, it kind of clicked in my head like, oh, that's why they're doing training in Arkansas. Like, duh. But I didn't know that at the time. And so I know there's also a pretty big community in, I believe it's Enid, Oklahoma, which is not far from me at all as well. And so I actually connected with some people at the camp, and I do plan on going and visiting the community there and just once again trying to immerse myself and get some more knowledge and get some more conversations going. And then hopefully I'll be able to go to Springfield or Springdale, Arkansas. Yeah, Springdale, Arkansas, and do the same thing. But I think just the more opportunities that I have to really get immersed in that culture, the better off I'm going to be for it. And so those are the kind of spaces that I'm trying to get myself in and just trying to continue to learn where those are in the context of where I'm currently at and what opportunities I have to just keep investing in those areas.
So I see a Marshallese pipeline here. You're going to be in the Four Corners right there in Oklahoma and Arkansas, finding those of Marshallese descent that you can get to your program at Pitt, so you can sit there and you can get them recruited. It's a full three-dimensional thing, Katie. I see this.
Don't get me in trouble now. Don't get me in trouble with all this.
Oh no. It's like you're kind of as a part of your scouting for Pittsburgh State. D2, is it going to be a D2 program?
Yes, we will be. Yep.
Okay, so the Gorillas program is a D2.
Yes.
And so you see those players that are in high school in Northwest Arkansas and Oklahoma that might be wanting to work at the collegiate level, and you can sit there. You've got a recruiting base now.
You're not wrong. You're giving me ideas.
See, that's what I'm saying. It is a nice recruiting base that we're staring at here. So, I mean, I see how this can grow and evolve and all of these different things. You're looking at it three-dimensionally. When it comes to all of the studying and all the players and all the information and everything that we're there, how much space is now? Do you have a separate do you have a flash drive now that you have all of your files about all of your Marshallese information as you're trying to get everything squared away? How big of a chunk of your hard drive is now being taken up by all of this Marshallese knowledge?
You know, I have more folders on my computer than I would like to admit. I truthfully have so many. And the other thing about me, and I don't know how much you know, but I'm also in my PhD program, and I'm also completing a second bachelor's degree. And I'm also in a coaching license class. And I also am planning on hopefully being in another one soon. So I have like 8 million different things going on. So my life has to be organized in all these different boxes or I just miss everything. So you're on the money. Like I've got a Marshallese folder that has 15 different folders in it, and one on this player and one on this is our style of play. And so just trying to put all those pieces together right now is the hardest part, because I know we're speaking a lot on the Marshallese players based in the United States. And the reason for that, and the reason that we're pulling from the United States so much, is just because for us, like I mentioned earlier, culturally, there's a challenge of getting women involved in sports. In the Marshall Islands, it's not very common for women to play sports, and it can be frowned upon within more traditional homes. And especially if it's leaving the home to then go and play a sport or fly to America or whatever that might look like. And so for us, we're finding that there are more Marshallese women that are going to be afforded those opportunities within the United States. And that is why we are pulling from the United States right now. We would love to get to a point where we could pull directly from the Marshall Islands as well. But we feel to do that, we have to start at the youth, and we have to start by implementing those youth systems to make that more common as women and young girls get older. So that way, as they age, this has been a part of their life versus, okay, well, now they have multiple children and they're 20 and they played soccer for fun, but not really. And now we're wanting them to leave the home and come play. It doesn't make sense right now, but we hope that one day it will. And so the work that Matt and Lloyd specifically are doing on the ground in the Marshall Islands, trying to get the youth system set up, trying to get opportunities for young girls to play, that in years and years from now will hopefully feed into the national system and will hopefully create a world in which girls, not just in the U.S., but also in the Marshall Islands, are able to have those opportunities.
Katie Smith, the newly appointed, couple months in, head coach for the women's side of the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation, dropping by for a 1v1 here on the SDH Network. How often do you have conversations with Lloyd and Matt and figure out, okay, because we can do things digitally now than we could have before, where you could have, needed like international minutes on a phone, you'd be burning that up and your phone bill would be like $9,000. How frequent are the conversations with you and Lloyd and Matt and with the guys that are based in Britain?
Yeah, so to be transparent right now, it's kind of all over the place. It's very sporadic. There's no set like, hey, we're going to meet once a week. It's kind of like, hey, I need this right now. Can you help me out? Hey, we're doing this right now. They've been sending us a ton of videos of them at the tournament and keeping us updated on how that's been going. But you're right, with the time difference and then just with, I feel like the state that we're at as a federation and trying to grow, everything is all over the place. And that's okay because that's where we're at. And so I think all of us just being flexible and being willing to hop on the phone when we need to, if it's, I don't know, 11 p.m., but you're awake and it's 2:00 where they are. Okay. Like we'll just, it's like we need like a map on the wall, like in the murder mysteries with the red lines. Like that's what I need right now. But regardless, it's been all over the place. It's been sporadic, but it's been good. I feel like we've been able to be flexible. We've been able to get each other's help when we've needed it. And I've never felt like they left me hanging or vice versa. It's just WhatsApp and record a little voice note and wait until you hear back. It's kind of like sending a letter off in the mail, it might take a few days, but we'll get there when we get there. So it's been all over the place, but it's been good. And I feel good about where we're at and where we're going. We just have to, keep on moving along. So
when I like to talk to owners and coaches that are part of a new venture, and you'll sit there and it's like, we're going to have this tournament and it's going to be next whenever. And you're sitting there thinking to yourself, well, next whenever really is going to be here faster than you would think, because you can sit there and say, it's going to be a year from now. But really that goes by like that. You snap your fingers and you're there. What I like to ask folks who are new in their positions is I mentioned the idea of the flash drive and the folders and stuff. Maybe there's a flash drive and a folder, a dry erase board someplace that folks have, maybe a magnet calendar or one of those little boards that you have, you're 2:00 in the morning, you've got an idea and you're getting that glass of water in the kitchen. And it's like, oh, I've got an idea. And I'll write it down on the board that's on the dry erase board on the fridge so you don't forget it. And then you look back at it the next morning after you wake up and say, what was I thinking? What was I writing down? I can't read my own handwriting. Or a dry erase board or a notebook or something. Where is that to-do list for the next couple of things that you think you need to tackle when it comes to this project? Where is that to-do list? And what do you think that the next thing that you can cross off of your Marshall Islands to-do list is as you and Lloyd and Matt continue to grow things on the women's side, do you think?
Yeah. So you know what they say about girls in their notes app? We put everything on there. So mine is on my notes app. We do have a shared one where we have a Google Drive that we all add things into, but I've got stuff on my notes app. I probably have 10,000 notes on there about everything and all of my life problems and everything that I need to just put on paper. It's all there. So that is where mine is. I think the next thing that we can check off is really just trying to find more players. And I think, as you said, where I'm at locationally, and as we start getting into the fall and we start getting settled back in, because I know I've been running around doing my thing, and so have Matt, so have Lloyd, and I have not even been in Kansas since I think like May 15th. So I haven't been there in a while. So once we get moved back and settled in, I think it's okay. Now we need to find more women's players, because right now I believe are at 8 players. And as we know, futsal, you need 5. So we have enough to play, but we want more, and we want to be able to pull from more places. So I think for us, it's just getting settled back into that day to day. And then once we do that, let's continue to try to find some players. And with me being so close, maybe that's, hey, I need to take a drive down and have a lunch with these players and get to know them, or, all of the things. And so basically it's, let's get more players on the map. And then as I said, our next training is going to be in October, and we've got dates for that. So there should be, I guess, an official announcement on that at some point in the near future. But hopefully when we get to October, we'll have a decent amount of players there, more than the first one, which is always the goal. And then from that stage, the next thing is just trying to get a game. And the challenge with that is we're not a FIFA team. We don't count towards FIFA credit. So a lot of FIFA recognized countries don't want to play us. Well, then that leaves over the countries that are not FIFA recognized, which oftentimes they're not going to have that financial backing or support that maybe the FIFA teams would. And so trying to find a team that financially and support wise can have a friendly with a team like ours in countries where maybe they're not as developed. And then, as I said, being women's, that's even more challenging. So we're just trying to sort through who is going to be able to do that with us and where that's going to be able to take place. And so hopefully we will have some luck like the men did, and we'll be able to finally find someone. But it was a challenge for the men as well. And it took them a few different times of, oh, we have something scheduled. Oh, wait, no, we actually can't because they don't have the financials to do it. Or, oh, we have something scheduled. Oh, actually. So they kind of went through that process as well. And so I don't anticipate that being any different or easier for us. So it's just keeping the faith and continuing to work through that and trying to sort through who can do it with us. So,
all right. So for email, best ways to get in touch with you when it comes to, it's like, hey, I've got some folks. How do they keep track of what's going on with you? And on the women's side, on the federation, social media, email, how do they do it?
If they DM us, if they email us, like, we will get back to them. We're actively looking for players. We're actively looking to give opportunities to kids and women. And so anyone that wants to get involved, we want to hear from them. We also do have a potential player form on our website that if someone is Marshallese and they do want to be involved in that system, whether they are 5 years old or 30 years old, it does not matter. We want their information. We want to be able to get them on a list. So even if we can't necessarily offer them anything right now, for especially the youth side of things, once we have something to offer them, we want to have their information. And so that was a big thing that we did at camp, was we got that out there, and we had a lot of parents fill out those forms and just get us their information. So for us, we're always looking, and they can go on our website, they can fill out the form, they can DM us, they can do whatever they want to do, and we will make sure that we get in touch with them.
And reach out to you at misfwomens@gmail.com.
That is it.
misfwomens@gmail.com. Katie, it's great to finally catch up with you, because I know it sometimes is like trying to catch a comet by the tail with how busy you are these days and trying to hang on to it. But love what you're doing, and love that you're a part of the process with the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation and having it grow along with Lloyd and Matt and Justin and everybody there. Great that we could catch up with you. I know that you get to catch your breath, but we're going to be keeping an eye, and don't be a stranger. We'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I appreciate your time and appreciate you guys being with us and helping us along the way.